Back in March of 2020, Kendrick Lamar, along with Dave Free and a few others, formed pgLang. And all we really had to go off of was a brief description and a weird video with just kind of figuring out what it's about. Since then, there really hasn't been much news regarding it until today. Welcome to the Bar for Bar podcast, and today we're going to go through what's out there about pgLang. So, first things first, what I guess triggered this talk is an interview between Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem on, I think it was ID Vice. So it's Kendrick asking Baby Keem questions. So I'll get into that in a minute, but we'll start off with what pgLang is. So according to their website, pgLang is multilingual. Our community speaks music, film, television, art, books, and podcasts because sometimes we have to use different languages to get the point of our stories across. Stories that speak to many nations, many races, and many ages. That is why our writers, singers, directors, musicians, and producers break formats when we build ideas and make them real for the curious. Putting round pegs through square holes is not a process, but we embrace the idea of anarchy and challenges that make us stronger. pgLang is focused on using our experience and nurturing our many collaborators to build stories that are equally accessible and engaging, then fitting them within the best media. We are creators. pgLang. So, with that information alone, and the little bit that we got from the video, which, it's not even a little bit, it was a lot of it. It's safe to assume that this is going to be some sort of multimedia company. Not too sure what the extent of it would be, because I don't think that is going to go to the levels of a Sony or Warner Brothers or Universal. I think it's more meant for the artists, you could say. It is more focused on the art itself rather than making money, which, making money is always a goal, but it is entirely possible that this is just straight up for the music, nothing else. Now, aside from that, the original welcome video really only showcases the music and the video aspect of pgLang. But I guess that makes sense because there's only really so much that you can show off through video. So far, we haven't really seen anything else in terms of the art, other arts and books and podcasts. We've really just seen the music, film, and I guess you can kind of throw film and television into the same sort of box, but not quite. Because the videos themselves are pretty cinematic. And they're really they're like pieces of a whole story, it seems like. And given what we've seen today, it definitely feels like there's more to it. So what was revealed, whatever you want to say, today. So in this interview between Kendrick and Baby Keem, Kendrick kind of goes through, asks him the typical questions so what made you get started? When did you get started? I guess Baby Keem started when he was 13, and he lived in Vegas, but originally lived in LA, moved to Vegas, and then in high school came back to LA or Compton, linked up with Kendrick, and they are related, so there is that, but it seemed like from that interview that they're not super closely related. They know of each other, but they're distant relatives. Regardless, it sounds like this whole interaction between them is really just that, it's a protege and master sort of thing, because Kendrick basically took him under his wing. And he was saying in the interview that his auntie was like, yo, this dude's just not in school. I keep getting calls from school. Where are you at? And Kendrick felt bad about it because it was his fault. What was like aside from all like the regular interview stuff that we normally get, the biggest thing that we got was at the end. Yeah, so the last thing like in the interview was Kendrick saying, or he was responding to Baby Keem saying, yo, like, it's hard to kind of feel comfortable releasing music when you're trying to do new things. And, you know, you just got to keep trying out different things, but you don't want to release anything until it's ready. And then to which Kendrick responded, it's a good thing to have people who understand your creative language. I always go back to the language, and that's how we damn near made this company. You have to be able to share and experience the same language or teach another language. On the music side, you've been at the forefront of pgLang. And then he asks, what's your personal opinion of this company or what this company represents now that he's in the mix? And Keem responds, I've seen pgLang before. It was an idea that came to fruition. It's sticking to and believing in something, even when you don't know how it will be created. And it starts out as just a small idea. I believed in it and I stuck to it. And now everything is paying off. So I've seen it from when there was no idea to now. So to me, pgLang represents loyalty and trust. That's, I mean, what it represents to him. It is not necessarily what it actually means. Because, yeah, loyalty and trust. Because he's seen where it came from and he was just kind of always there. And now that he's actually in the mix, it is a loyalty and trust sort of thing. But what I think Kendrick said here kind of solidifies exactly what this sort of thing is. He wants this to be a company of sorts where you can, well, the artist can properly convey the message that they want to convey and properly express themselves. Because a lot of times with music in general, you're not really going to be allowed to just say things. Because you always have that sort of idea that you want people to, be gravitated towards your music. And a lot of times to do that, you have to go more mainstream. Luckily, that's not what Kendrick had to do completely. He was able to maintain both the message as well as mainstream success. But artists like Baby Keem, he does have some mainstream success as well. But he's trying to go a different route now. And that's not really the easiest thing to do if you are a fairly new artist. You're going to have to build up a fan base one way or another. And it's hard. So having a backing from a company that will just straight up support you in whatever creative venture that you want to pursue is amazing. So, it's great to have that. What I really took from this whole conversation is, they both have music coming, but it sounds like pgLang is kind of an evolution sort of thing. It's not that Top Dog is a bad label. It's more that Kendrick and Dave Free seem to have had a different vision for what they want to do with their art. So, Top Dog's fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But if they're trying to go super creative and more experimental, that's not really something that I see Top Dog doing. And that's only because they've kind of established themselves as this music group specifically. So, they can still do other things, but it's a little weird. Especially, if you've seen the video for this, it is strange. You have eyeball men running around and fighting in the street. That's not something that you would see from Top Dog. I don't care what you think. That is not something that they would do. That's just so off the wall. It doesn't make sense to me for them to do that. So, especially because they've established themselves for a while, it's hard to change what people's perception of you is. and what their assumptions of what you do is. Because, like I said, I mean, well, actually, no, not even that. Like, when they first started out, right, it was Kendrick, J-Rock, Absol, and Q. Then they started bringing on more people. They brought on Isaiah Rashad. Cool. Another dope rapper. And then they brought SZA on. And to me, at first, I was like, again, this was back in the day, like, I think 2013 or something. And I was like, okay, that's cool. It surprised me, though. But also, it's not that surprising now that I think back, because, I mean, the reason it surprised me is because Top Dawg always felt like this just rap label. Like, you got the spitters, like, they all can rap. So throwing in a singer was a bit of, like, kind of just throwing a wrench into the whole equation, right? But that also does make sense because other labels throughout hip hop and rap have always had some sort of R&B artist as well, or a singer in general as well. So it's not too much of a stretch now that I'm really thinking about it. I think I was just confused at first because I wanted more rappers. Regardless, sure, that was a bit of a step outside of their comfort zone at that time. But going into all these other ventures isn't necessarily something that Top Dawg can easily transition into, especially if that wasn't something that they set out to do in the first place. I mean, yeah, they got music videos and they got their music, and their music is often pretty impactful. Like, I mean, look at everything that Kendrick's dropped. Like, there's a lot of social commentary. However, it's not going to be to the extent that, like, they're trying to change something, you know? Like, that is just one aspect of the label. Like, Kendrick is the artist that does that. The other people on the label, I mean, sure, they have that, but they're not necessarily going to be the ones that are really pushing for it, you could say. Going back to pgLang, though, they set out with the intent to do all sorts of multimedia, and they are multilingual, meaning, like, multimedia, like, they have different languages for different forms of art. And yeah, not everything that you're trying to portray is going to flow well with one type of art. Like, a lot of times, like music doesn't really lend itself well to television or film. Like, sure, you'll have their music in the background, but it's not really something that is going to be talked about. Like, you can have social commentary and talk about political issues in songs, but they are going to be kind of limited to those songs. That you can't really, like, it's hard to get them out of that, I guess, pocket that they're in. So that's when you have to go in and start finding other forms of media and delivery. So, like, if we're going with political issues, film and television are great for that. Art's great for that. Books and podcasts are great for that. So, like, there's a lot of other ways to get it across. Like, music is just one of the few options. And I mean, sure, yes, people are going to listen to music about political issues and other topics like that. Like, regardless, that is always going to happen. But having other outlets for it just makes it that much more impactful. Like, there are just some things that you can really only portray through written word. Like, I mean, even with hip hop, like, it's all spoken word essentially, but you don't necessarily resonate with what's being said until you really look into the lyrics. So you, like, just like poetry, like, you see it written out and then you start to understand it. Like, reading it word by word helps you understand it. And there's a few people like myself who actually go to music and listen to the lyric or read the lyrics. But I mean, I'm pretty sure the general public doesn't do that. They just listen to the music. Like I and others look or read the lyrics to get some sort of message out of it. However, that again isn't really easy to do, which is why you have the other forms of art out there. So, I mean, you have art people that can write poetry books, and that will give you a full idea of what that is. Now, that's all I really have as far as like there's no other news about pgLang. I'm not even gonna lie. The only other thing that we got really was another video from them, and it really just expands on what the welcome video was. So, like I alluded to earlier, the welcome video seems to be a sort of trailer or mashup of other video projects that they're doing. Because this one, the propaganda one, is like, or in the welcome video, you see bits and pieces of Kendrick and Keem just walking through the streets, walking through the subway, running, and then I think it ends with you seeing Kendrick on the, that one doesn't end with Kendrick on the light post, but kinda. But this propaganda video is them running through, and it ends at that point where Kendrick's on the street light. But that's all we see. So clearly there's more to it, because if it really does feel like that, they're trying to expand on this idea and trailer that they've created. It's weird though. It's like it's very expected, I guess you could say, like how they're rolling it out. Because Kendrick is a very to himself sort of dude. Like he doesn't go out there all day, every day, just, talking about everything. Like, he doesn't put his life out there. Like, if you go to Twitter and Instagram, you're gonna see almost nothing. Like, even his freaking icon, like avatar, they still have, no, profile picture, oh my god, is just black. Like, there's nothing there. So he's a very private person. So it does also make sense that pgLang is going to be rolled out very slowly and quietly. But he's also very methodical, which we've seen from this interview as well. Like, he wants to make sure everything's good before he releases anything or says something. So that's cool. Like, I mean, it's expected. But yeah, we, at this point, like, what we have regarding pgLang is very limited. However, because of this interview and because Baby Keem dropped some music a few weeks ago, actually a month ago now, I'm pretty sure they're gearing up for some sort of announcement or some sort of release. Because in this interview, Keem alludes to the fact that both him and Kendrick were supposed to have released something earlier this year, but then Rona. So it's likely that we're getting something soon. I don't know if it's going to be this year or early next year, but it feels like it's soon. Like, this feels like part of a rollout. I think we'll find out some more as time goes on. I mean, we will find out more as time goes on. That's just how things go. Like, that is just a fact of life. Things move on. But I think we'll get more information about pgLang as time goes on. Like, it's still early. Like, there's literally only been 2 videos, and I think it's only been 7 months? Yeah, about 7 months since the original announcement. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe it's just a subsidiary of TDE. I mean, that's totally possible. Although it sounded like Dave Free didn't leave on the greatest of terms. So it'd be a little weird for him to still be related, but I also wouldn't be surprised. Especially because Kendrick's straight upset that he didn't leave Top Dog. I mean, you could be part of two labels though. Like you can be a label owner and then have music released on another label. That's totally fine. Assuming his contracts are set up that way. I mean, because he's also part of Interscope's too, so he has to go through them for everything. It's also entirely possible that pgLang is part of Interscope. I mean, we don't have that information yet, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I look forward to seeing what we get from pgLang. Because, I mean, other than Kendrick and Keem, Georgia Smith was in the original video. I'm assuming that she's still part of it. And, I mean, she's released a few songs as well, but I don't think those were really acknowledged as a pgLang product. I think that was just like, she released music to release music. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's weird right now. Like, it's a really strange time to have started a company. I mean, this whole thing started right before quarantine and lockdown and everything, so that's a little different. I don't think they could have predicted that. But I don't know, man. It's interesting for sure. But yeah, I think the general idea of pgLang is that it's going to be, I mean, what they said, a multimedia company essentially. Because they're going to be talking about film, music, television, art, books, podcasts, really every sort of media to get a message out there and get a message and story across. It's just a matter of time, I guess, till we get more information. That's about all I have, though. Let me know in the comments below if you have any sort of other ideas of what pgLang could potentially be. I mean, I think they're pretty clear about what it is, but I don't know what they're going to do with it, or if they have any projects in mind. Maybe that, you know how a few weeks ago there was that sighting of Kendrick in the streets, like for a video shoot? Is that related to it? Maybe. But yeah, let me know what you all think, or if you guys have any more information than I do. And like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this one. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.